feel awake and alive, blessed and alive. I got love. I feel good and kind. I feel my heart open wide. Spirit guide my heart to love. Open your heart, hold out your hand. Open up to have love, love, love. Open your heart, hold out your hand. Open up to have love, love, love. I feel strong inside. I feel awake and alive, blessed and alive. I got love. I feel good and kind. I feel my heart open wide. Spirit guide my heart to love. Open your heart, hold out your hand. Open up to have love, love, love. Open your heart, hold out your hand. Open up to have love, love, love. feel strong inside. I feel awake and alive. Blessed and aligned. I got love. I feel good and kind. I feel my heart open wide. Spirit guide my heart to love. Open your heart. Hold out your hand. Open up to have love, love, love. Open your heart. Hold out your hand. Open up to have love, love, love.
Yes, yes, yes. Good morning. Welcome to CSL Dallas's Center for Spiritual Living. We are so glad that you are here with us this morning. I want to let you know that we are asking you, even if you're not physically here, you can check in on social media. So check in and say that you are at CSL Dallas, no matter where you are in the Metroplex, in the country, or in the world. Check in. We appreciate that. Our reason for being a community is that we are radically inclusive. We are spiritually progressive, meaning we are ahead of this spiritual curve, and we are all about transforming lives. So as you participate more and more with us online and eventually in person, your life, I promise you, will be transformed. So I want to let you know if you did not get a chance to register to celebrate our Together We Thrived in 2020 recognition event, we had to reschedule it because of rain, because it's an outdoor event. And so you still have an opportunity to join us here on campus at CSL Dallas. We've moved it to Friday night, June 11th at 6:30. We've got 35 incredible individuals that ensured that we not only made it through 2020, the pandemic year, but we thrived while doing so. So we invite you to join us. We will have special recognition, food, and adult beverages. So you want to join us. Also, you really don't want to miss this. On June the 12th, Saturday, the next day, you have an opportunity in 4 hours to really up your affirmative prayer, what we call spiritual mind treatment game. I mean, be able to manifest in your life like never before. Joining our incredibly powerful practitioner, Tracy Brown, it is Treatment 2.0. So get registered. Today's a great day to do that, and be with Tracy as she'll walk you through how to ensure that you can write and speak, like declare, claim, and demand and command that which you want to bring into your life. So get into that absolutely right now. And if you haven't joined us lately, we want to let you know we are still restoring our campus from a busted pipe that flooded 14,000 square feet. We keep giving you updates so you can see how it is coming along, and we trust and know and stand with us that we will be able to open our campus once and for all come the first portion of July. And because you keep being generous with your pledges, with your givingness, financial gifts, we are able to do all of this. So today, this is an opportunity as we speak about being a light worker. Be a light worker for this community and shine your light financially. There are many ways in which you can do that. You can go to csldallas.org/give. You can give through our giving portal or through PayPal. You can text give. That number is, let's see, that number is 972-954-4404. And you set it up once and you can text as we continue to move through your heart and transform your lives. Text give right then. And you can also, right there on the link on the live stream, you can give generously to every single person in this community. And so let's just settle in and continue this Sunday celebration.
Of spirit on earth, a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all we do is a blessing to the world. We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all we do is a blessing to the world.
And so go within, remembering that in this moment, Spirit is present. Knowing that for many of us this weekend, there is a great deal of memory. There is that memory of those who have served our country, those who have protected our freedom, and in so doing lost their lives. And so we remember. We send out love. We send out a prayer for peace. We send out that deep honoring and respect. We send out love to those who carry that memory in their families. And so together, as we remember, we know that that memory is powerful. We know that love heals. We know that that love transcends any conflict, any pain. And we know that it heals. It heals lives, it heals families, it heals the planet. It heals and unites us, person to person, country to country, worldwide. Trusting that transformative power of love, we just simply breathe into what is remembered, what is honored, what is true in each and every heart today. That life is good, that life is to be honored and protected. And so we surrender to that great power of love, that uniting force, that which is true and honored. And so together we bless it, we celebrate each and every life, and we remember and carry those who remember their loved ones who have passed. And so we let it be, and in deep gratitude, we affirm this by saying, and so it is.
You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who you are and all you do is a blessing to the world. You are the heart, you are the hands, you are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are and all you do is a blessing to the world. I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. I am a light, I am a light, I am a light in this world. And I shine, and I shine, and I shine so bright. And I shine, and I shine, and I shine so
Well, thank you so much to our music team and our band as we remember that we're light in the world and we shine in the world. And so we are, hang on, I'm trying to figure out how to use my little clicker here. We are, I need to be able to see it. There we go. We're closing our Step Out in Faith, Spiritually Awakening, Raising Consciousness program. This is our Step Out, finished last Sunday in our Step Out in Faith. And if you've been a part of it, we have so loved being on this journey together to journey into a deeper understanding of spiritual awakening. And to recognize that in that process, we are raising our own consciousness. And today we close this whole conversation with the idea that we're raising consciousness as a whole, that we are being light workers. And that when we grow in consciousness, when we grow our consciousness, we are literally lifting the consciousness of humanity. Why? Because we know that we're automatically shifting consciousness in that one infinite power and presence. And it's not enough just to assume that we're going to shift our own consciousness, right? We want to remember that we are not only working for a life that works for us, but we are actively engaged in working for a world that works for everyone. And so this means that we add this intentionality to our journey of stepping out in faith. That our spiritual awakening does, in fact, not just raise our own consciousness, but raises consciousness as a whole. So I want to begin with this. Spiritual awakening, raising consciousness, is about adding our light, our consciousness, and our awareness to that of others, thereby lifting humanity out of unconscious reactions, fears, false assumptions, and limited thinking. There's also a deeper spiritual awareness, which is the awareness of the spiritual reality behind all of creation and every created thing. This spiritual awareness is an ability to see and perceive the presence of life, light, love, peace, power, beauty, and joy as the inner reality of each person and as present in the fabric of every experience. So spiritual awareness isn't just for us. It radiates from us as we move about in the world. We bring awareness to these qualities of spirit to the situations and activities wherever we go. It's not enough just to be about our own spiritual awakening, raising consciousness, until we recognize that we are contributing, and to add that piece of intentionality as we move in the world, that we bring awareness of the qualities: love, life, light, peace, power, beauty, and joy to the situations and activities wherever we go. So this is what it means to be a light worker, to work with light and energy consciously, to raise our own energy, our own light, and to allow ourselves to be present in the world consciously, intentionally, in maybe a new way. Right? So when we talk about working with light, we know from quantum physics that light and energy are like nanoseconds apart. Somehow that quantum field, as it moves into particularization, that energy, the wave of the energy as it particularizes, the very first place, the thing it particularizes into is a photon of light. And that's why they call it a wave particle. Energy, light, energy, light, energy, light. And there's no separation between the two. They no longer say, oh, it's a wave or it's a particle. They now call it a wave particle. Like one word, energy, light, right? It's really an interesting thing to think about. So when we are consciously engaged with that, right, we can think about we're working with energy in a room. We understand energetic healing, Reiki, and all the kinds of ways in which we engage in energetic healing. We can also think of, so that's one way of thinking about being a light worker, right? We're working with the energy. Another thing we can think about in terms of light is the idea of illumination. right? Enlightenment, to be illumined. So there's a number of ways that we can think about this idea of being a light worker, to work with light. So we can shed light. We can shed light on something, become aware of the challenge that we're facing, shed light on what's happening in our family, shed light on what's happening in a company, in a culture, shed light on what's happening on our planet, right? So we can illuminate a challenge, and then we can bring light to that which we have shed light upon. We can bring light to it by offering solutions, by offering a new way of looking at it, by offering a new understanding, by bringing light to the situation as opposed to the darkness of, ain't it awful, it's always been this way, and it's never going to change, right? Bringing light is to lighten it up with the opportunity, with the possibility of solutions. And then to be the light is to make the presence of spirit known, to presence all of these qualities, to look for the good and positive energy, positive expectancy. Karen's going to talk quite a bit about that. So for me, one of the most illuminating, pun intended, one of the most illuminating realities about all of this for me has been watching the environmental movement since the 70s. Now, I've been an environmentalist since that time, and we've spent 10 years here at CSL Dallas, continually working to become more and more environmentally conscious, a little more green, all of those kinds of things. And I'll never forget a article I read, probably, it might even by now be 10 years ago, as climate change was really becoming a reality. I mean, we were really starting to see the effects. And the article was talking about why, if we've known this for so long, are we only now recognizing it in a big way, and we still have so many people who don't want to do anything about it, who are in denial of it. And the article hypothesized this answer. The reason is because since the 70s, the environmental movement has done nothing but paint a picture of gloom, paint a picture of doom. And of course, none of us want to walk around with, the doom cloud or the doomsday, over our heads. And so what do? We either get angry because it's being pointed out to us and we don't want to look at it, or we just dig our head in the sand and we ignore it. We're about our own lives, and we're not really, it's just so challenging to feel something that feels hopeless and helpless. And what I've watched over these since the 70s, right, is that over time there's been a conscious decision to try to actually raise awareness to show that we can, in fact, make differences. So for all of you young people, you probably don't remember this, but do you remember that ad with the Native American guy standing on the beach covered in trash? And he had the beautiful headdress, and it was covered in trash, and just had the one tear trickling down his face. I remember seeing that, late 70s, early 80s, and I remember bawling, seeing that ad, and going, we can do better than this. And it was that ad that caused people to start cleaning up the beaches. I remember meeting Julia Butterfly Hill, who was a woman who sat in a sequoia tree for 782 days. That's 2 years. She sat in a sequoia tree, in a redwood tree, to protect it without ever coming off the platform. 250 feet in the air for 2 years. Rain, snow, hot, cold. And her ability to do that brought so much awareness to what was happening in the old growth forests, and that things began to change because she brought awareness to it, right? And so the first thing, as we know, is that awakening, to become aware of what's happening. And then we begin to see movement, the raising of consciousness, right? The whole beginning of the green movement, and over time, the increased impact on recycling. Now we have cities where recycling is mandatory. And companies have really, I know not all companies who say they're green actually are green, but a lot of them actually are. Even if they're making a small movement, it's a movement. And now, not only does Volkswagen have a new van that is 100% electric, which I'm totally interested in, the Ford F-150 is going to be coming out as an all-electric pickup truck. The single #1 selling pickup truck in the United States and possibly the world. They're going to be bringing one out that's 100% electric. The move of that is monumental. Why? Because in addition to we can't ignore what's going on, people are starting to paint a picture of possibility. If we do these things, it is going to make a difference, right? And we're in that spot. We're in that spot of becoming aware, awakening to our ability to actually participate. And it begins with raising our consciousness. So we're going to talk about a few ways in how to do that. Like this now we're going to talk about how the rubber meets the road, because it's one thing to have a nice theory about it. It's another thing to really get a hold of how do we do this. So Karen's going to come on up here and talk about the first piece.
All right. So the first way that we can be this light worker is to be a positive presence in our life and in the world and bring our energy so that wolf particle, we'll call it, to be that light worker and that energy. So to choose to be a positive energy force in the world and to choose that with every single breath that we take. So a lot of us meditate, and what is the first thing that we do when we sit to meditate, or if it's a guided meditation? A lot of people will say, focus on the breath. So we can use our breath and to start checking in with ourselves as we are walking around in our day and in our lives and in the world and say, I'm checking my breath. Am I choosing right now in this breath to be a positive presence? My energy, is it positive in the world right now? No matter what's going on around us, can I choose to be a positive energetic? And then by doing that, we're influencing what energy is actually coming through us. No matter what's going on within us, we're choosing that I am only allowing positive, being the presence of life itself, that which gives and is for more life and for more good. I'm choosing to be that. So we got to check into our thoughts, check in with our attitudes, and check in with our actions, and to see, am I or am I not right now being this positive presence? I want to share with you an event that took place in Spain in 2012. It was an international cross-country race. I'm bringing this forward for Ryan because I know he likes to run. So there was this international cross-country race, and after running through the fields and the woods and through lots of mud, it was a rainy day, lots of mud, a Kenyan runner by the name of Abel Mutai was just a few feet from the finish line, and he became confused with the signage. He didn't speak Spanish, and he became confused with the signage and basically thought that he had crossed the finish line, so he slowed to stop. And he's like, yes, he was looking at his watch, and he's like, I finished the race, I was first, I won the race. But he hadn't. He had just stopped, literally, just before the finish line. So behind him was a Spanish runner. Now this is a local guy, a Spanish runner, Ivan Fernandez, and he was right behind him. And he started to realize what was happening. And he started shouting at the Kenyan. He was like, hey, keep running, keep running. But Mutai, he didn't understand Spanish, and so he wasn't understanding. And even the crowd was like, keep running, keep running. So realizing what was truly taking place, Fernandez deliberately stayed behind and ensured that Mutai won. Now, And there are photos of this. And this is one of them. And the journalist asks Ivan, why did you do that? And Ivan replied, well, my dream is that someday we can have a kind of community life where we push and help each other to win. And the journalist insisted, but why did you let the Kenyan win? And Ivan replied, I didn't let him win. He was going to win. The race was his. And the journalist still insisted and asked him again, but you could have won. And Ivan looked at him and replied, but what would be the merit of my victory? What would be the honor in that medal? What would my mother think? Wow. So this is such a beautiful example that we can ask ourselves and check in. Are my thoughts right now a positive presence? Are my attitudes right now about whatever's going on in my day, in my life, in this situation, in the circumstance, what's happening on the global stuff? Are my attitudes uplifting? Are my actions, am I, that attitude, that thought, and the actions of Ivan Fernandez were all in alignment with being that presence? He didn't let anything else, the culture of we must win at all costs. It's like, no. And to ensure that not only those thoughts, those actions, and those attitudes are uplifting, but that our presence and our energy are expansive and not contractive. Like, are we coming from an expansive place? And that's how I check in with myself. Am I open and expansive in this moment in my thoughts, in my attitudes, in my actions, or am I contracting? And I have to check in with myself a lot. And I feel it, like, oh, pretty contractive inside, or that thought was like, closing down about that person or whatever. And then I'm at choice. I can be consciously aware of shifting it as fast and as quickly as I can. So we can each ask ourselves, are we being kind and forgiving on all levels, spiritually, emotionally, and physically? Is our energy actually congruent energetically with this boundless love, that which unabashedly gives to itself so freely and fully? Are we being the presence of life itself, of Spirit of God, that which gives to itself? Life is about expansion, falling forward, more life. Because if it is, it'll feel like that to you. And if it is, it'll feel like that to everyone around you. So I want to give one more tool here right now, a tool for spiritual growth, and it's called the sandbox test, okay? The greatest laboratories for spiritual growth reveal how we really are doing, and it is easy to find and know. Just find anyone else that you work with, that you live with, that you are in relationship with in some kind of shape, form, or fashion, and put it to the sandbox test, okay? Now, what's the sandbox test? Well, as children, most of us were taught in kindergarten 4 things when we played in the sandbox. First one, play nice. Can we play nice in the sandbox? Can we be kind? Can we be forgiving? Number 2, share our toys. Can we share the gifts that we have? Can we share the contacts and the connections and the experiences? Can we share positivity? Can we share our toys, or are we just holding on to them and say, nope, this is mine? Number 3, hey, don't throw stuff, especially in people's faces. Now, So yeah, don't throw sand in my eyes, but don't throw stuff. So how about not throwing that energy or throwing the words in someone's face or throwing the past, well, you did it this way, so I'm doing it this way too. And the fourth thing is learn to build beautiful things. Don't destroy them. Don't knock them down. Don't cut someone off at their knees in the sandbox. Help to build. Like, what can we build together? Well, I have this and you have that. Let's build something in this sandbox together. Because when we learn to be a beneficial presence, we build things together on boundless love. And the more each of us do this, that we build things together and keep moving that and expanding that, then each of us are helping to build cities of love. And so I am grateful in this moment that we get to experience a beautiful soloist, Lauren Urso. She's going to sing Beautiful City.
Thank you so much, Lauren, Brad, and Eric. Thank you so very much. Holy moly, I'm completely verklempt. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah. So, building that beautiful city of love, right? And how many of us roll our eyes? Yeah, well, that's a nice utopian thought. Have you read the news recently? And yet, that's exactly what we do in our own lives, isn't it? We say, well, you live in an abundant universe, and then we roll our eyes and say, have you looked at my checking account? Or we say, you are whole, perfect, and complete, and you're healthy and strong. And we say, yeah, have you looked at my body lately? Or what my doctor said? You see? So the second piece of this how that we want to talk about is that we actually know how to do this. We are practicing every single day in our own lives with the spiritual tools and practices, the spiritual technologies that we teach here at CSL Dallas, that metaphysicians all over the world are teaching, whether you read Abraham Hicks or you read Wayne Dyer or Deepak Chopra or Michael Beckwith or Oprah, right? And Eckhart, I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the ways in which we are learning to do this work within our own consciousness, to build lives, how to uncover unconscious patterns and beliefs in our life, how to work with false ideas, right? And we're constantly doing this. And so the second how that we want to talk about is that we can translate or transfer the very ways in which we are shifting our relationship with our own lives, awakening to a new idea about it, raising our consciousness around it, and actually affecting real change in our own personal lives. The very same things are transferable when we're thinking about or working with ideas and situations that seem to be affecting people or humanity or some larger sense of what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious. So like we can think about this, right? So we talk about our prosperity as an example. And we say, you live in an unlimited, abundant universe. And then what we can do when we first start out is we say, yes, but look at my checkbook and look at the amount of money that I'm making. So that is going to limit me. That's going to limit me in my prosperity. And this dichotomy is something that we work on. We work on understanding the power of the abundance of the universe and the recognition of that abundance, how that shifts our experience of our material good, and that actually literally changes that experience. Well, we can do exactly the same thing when we're healing racism. It's not about pointing out how bad it's always been. Yes, it's always been that bad. And as we shift our consciousness to the truth that we're all one, that every single human being matters and is a part of life, then things begin to shift. We are creating a new consciousness. We're raising consciousness. Or let's say we've decided we're going to do spiritual work about a healthy relationship, being in happier relationships. And so we practice being loving. We practice being grateful. We practice being kind in our relationships. We practice looking at what's not been working in previous relationships and trying new things, right? Well, this and having a consciousness of my partner or this person or my family member or my child, this is not the enemy. This is we talk about loving each other, so, right, we can take that exact same thing and transfer it to reducing polarization. Reducing polarization and the divide between parties, between nations, between tribes, between races, right? We can do exactly the same thing. This is not my enemy. We're actually all one. We can practice love and gratitude and all of the things that we practice in having happier relationships. We can practice this around this idea of groups of people. We can practice it in engagement with people. Do you see? We're transferring the very spiritual practices that we're working on in our own lives. We decide we want to have a more meaningful life. So it isn't just about let's get the promotion, how much money can I make, what job can I get that's going to give me the most stuff. It's more about, well, gosh, what's a meaningful life mean to me? Maybe I want to have a little more time to travel, or I not only want to have a meaningful relationship, but I want to have work that makes a difference in the world. Maybe I want to grow vegetables in my backyard because that seems important to the green economy. And we start not having quite such tunnel vision. This is the way it is, right? And we realize, oh wait, to have a meaningful life, all of the parts of my life have to work. Well, what if we took the exact same consciousness and we applied it to having an equitable economy? What if we realized that just having a particular idea that our companies have to make profit for our shareholders, no holds barred, that's the only thing, right? What if we realized, oh wait, those disadvantaged areas, they also need to have economy. And we're looking at how our minorities are outside of this particular way in which our culture has unfolded. Do you see? We can take the exact same thing when we spread our view out on what makes a meaningful life. Instead of I'm going to get a job that makes a lot of money and that gets me ahead in this way. Do you see? We can do the same thing in our economy. How do we make it more equitable? What is needed here? What do we give here? What do we grow there? And we look at it this way, and everything begins to change. So we talk about our spiritual practice of having a deeper connection, a sense of oneness. We want to have a sense of oneness with this infinite power and presence, and we meditate. And again, we do different kinds of spiritual practices, whether it's in action or whether it's in the way we think about things, right? We work on thinking about, well, everything, this is all God, this is all spirit, this is the infinite quantum field expressing itself. However we want to talk about it, the force, the matrix, right? It's all the same. And so we do that for ourselves so that we feel connected. Well, we can transfer that very same thing to the issues of refugees and immigration, to species extinction, to our planet as a whole. What if we really raised our consciousness so much that we actually awakened to the idea that those people we're one with, the planet we're one with, the species we're one with. All of this is connected, and what we do to one, we do to all of us. Do you see? We can take our search for a deeper connection and all the tools and practices that we use for that, and we can transfer it over to the issues and situations that are facing us. All of which builds on, as Karen so beautifully said, coming to it from a positive point of view, as opposed to, it's never going to change, isn't it awful? It's always going to be this way. I don't even know why we bother talking about it, because you know it's never going to happen because of those people, because of that system, because of that out there, that condition, that, right? Which is precisely what we seek to overcome in our own personal lives, giving causal power to conditions and saying that we're limited or bound by them. Do you see? We actually know how to do this. It's just engaging with it. So Ernest Holmes says this: there is natural energy in the waterfall high in the mountains. We convert it, we channel it, we do not create it. We merely change it from a natural energy to mechanical power. Then we distribute it and attach it to that which we want to operate. There is energy in the dynamic consciousness of the divine presence, which we do not create, like the waterfall in the mountains. We convert it to the action of our thought and direct it for a definite and specific purpose through our word. Do you see? In exactly the same way that we harness the energy of the waterfall, we harness it. We don't create the energy, we harness it, and we attach it to the mechanical thing we want to operate, there is a divine dynamic consciousness that we are seeking to raise ourselves into the awareness of, into the experience of. Remember a few weeks we talked about becoming conscious. We talked about the power of awareness. All of this allows this dynamic consciousness of the divine presence, which we do not create, but which we convert through the action of our thought, our spiritual tools and techniques, our technologies, our practices. All of these are designed to help us convert this infinite energy which is flowing through each one of us into the action of our thought, and that we direct it consciously for definite and specific purposes through our word. We begin speaking for the vision, for the thing that works, for the life and the love and the joy that is not only something that we ourselves want, but that we want for all of us. Actually, I can't even imagine how we can want good for ourselves and say, yeah, but you don't get to have it. Those people, they don't get to have it. How is that even possible? If we have a deep spiritual commitment to our oneness and our connection, we know how to do this, how to make unconscious beliefs conscious. That's what it means to have unconscious bias, to have unconscious habits and patterns. All we're trying to do is to make them conscious, not to make us wrong for having them. It's not about shame and blame and fault. It's about let's make it conscious so that we can make the same kinds of choices for the good of all as we make for the good of ourselves. When we change our thinking, we change the experiences. We know how to heal the past. We know how to manifest something new. And it begins with our intention, and then how that shows up in the way we act. Conscious action in the world. Intention and conscious action. So Karen's going to give us our last how and bring us home.
So another how. How do we move and act in this world? How do we act in our lives? How do we show up? And what are the core beliefs that actually are stemming from, like rooted as us? And that shows up how we move in the world as well. I was recently reminded of one of my favorite stories. So big shout out, thank you Dana Jones for mentioning this in a recent conversation. Many of us know and beloved John F. Kennedy. And this is a beautiful story where he went to visit NASA. And it was at the time where he really was inviting our entire country to hold the vision of putting a man on the moon, right? And so when he visited NASA's Space Center, he saw a janitor carrying a broom and walked over as the man was sweeping and asked him, what are you doing? I'm just curious, what do you do here? And the man answered, well, Mr. President, I'm helping put a man on the moon. Listen to what he said. I'm helping to put a man on the moon. And he beamed at this question. He didn't say, I'm sweeping floors, cleaning up after people or whatever. He said, I'm helping to put a man on the moon. And so he was part and shared in a common purpose with every single person at NASA. And he was sharing in that common purpose with what eventually would be 2 men landing on the moon. And he was especially participating in a core belief and a nothing can waver that the end result is assured. I'm helping to put a man on the moon. And that's who each of us are right now. And this vision of creating a world that works for everyone, a world that works for all. We each have that broom in our hands. And we each are participating in every single action that's taking place, every thought, every place from which we come from. So I'm going to invite us to remember I'm helping to bring a world that works for everyone. That's what I'm doing. I'm being a light worker. I'm being a positive presence. In fact, I'm not only being a positive presence, I am the presence. Everything about my life and the reason why I'm here at such a time as this is I'm being the presence, because this action, this thought, the way I speak, the way my energy, the way I am, and the way I show up is helping to put a man on the moon. Everything that I am a light worker to tip the scales, because every thought, every action, and as I show up as the presence, it makes a huge difference. And how do we really know it really makes a huge difference? Well, I want to share a quote from a physicist, Paul Dirac. And this physicist, and we know this through quantum physics, and now there's about to be something beyond quantum physics, folks. He says, pick a flower on Earth and you move the furthest star. Okay? Every action, every movement, every thought that we hold in our consciousness is moving the furthest star. It's that butterfly effect. So nothing that we do as we be that light worker is insignificant. Nothing. So our awakening is a benefit to all, raising all of consciousness, humanity. We are part of this. This consciousness as a whole, and every expression, we are the ones. We are here right now for this spiritual awakening, and we are here right now to be that positive presence to raise consciousness. And we, because we're here, are lifting the collective consciousness and all of humanity out of unconscious reactions, fear, false assumptions, and limited thinking. So I honor you. I celebrate you for being a light worker right here and right now, because we need you to put that man on the moon.
Yay. All right. So, Brad, we're not going to do a spiritual mind treatment. I'm going to ask everybody to, if you're at home, I'm going to ask you to stand up. If you're in the room, I'm going to ask you to stand up. So what we're going to do instead is we are going to do a little affirmations here. So I'm going to invite you to repeat after me. I am a light worker. I have a broom of light. I sweep up light. I share my light. I am bringing my light. And I am the light of the world. And so are you. And so it is. Woo! All right, I'm taking off my little affirmation hat. I'm putting on my announcement hat. Here we go, announcements. All right, we got some powerful classes coming up to show you how. These hows that we talk about, these are not just things that we roll off our tongue because we think it's a good idea. These are proven things that we can do in our lives. There's lots of ways to learn about them. So there's still time to register for our introductory class today, this afternoon, with Reverend Patty. It's called Keys to Expanding Consciousness. So if you are new to CSL Dallas, new to Science of Mind or New Thought, this is the place to start. She's going to answer some of these questions and give you a little taste of what it means to raise consciousness, to expand our consciousness, and how. Join us online this afternoon. We also have a class coming up on Thursday called Principles of Successful Living. They're daily practices and spiritual principles so that you can live your life in a way that is very successful. And we already know now that as we learn these things, we can apply them to the things that are important to us in the world. So this is an awesome class to really explore the role of consciousness, right? That's what we're talking about. In creating our own lives and making a difference. Creating a positive, life-affirming consciousness makes a difference in our life, makes a difference on the planet. This is being taught by practitioner Carol Merlot. It starts this Thursday. So both of those you want to sign up for immediately. And then on the June 10th, we have a beautiful course starting. Again, all in alignment with what we're talking about. This is a course called Compassionate Communication. It's based on the NVC work, Nonviolent Communication work of Marshall Rosenberg. This is extraordinary work, and it is all about not only healing the way in which we communicate in our own lives, but making a massive difference on the planet itself with all of the polarization, how to have nonviolent communication, but communication that is compassionate, but also very truthful and authentic. This will be led by Doreen Breedlove, starts on June 10th. So all of our classes you can sign up for csldallas.org. And just a huge shout out for Memorial Day. We really are so grateful. As Christine Volkmer said in our beautiful invocation, we want to celebrate and honor all of those who have lost their lives in wars and police actions. We want to acknowledge those people who have served. I know that's Veterans Day, but everybody who has served is really, it's really a truly moment of gratitude. But people have given their life. They have given their life in service to all of us. And that is what we are celebrating this weekend. And so please do, know that our thoughts are with you. And we want to remind you that we do have a Zoom room for our practitioners. Starts right after this is over. You can hop into the Zoom room, get one-on-one spiritual mind treatment for anything that you need. All right, so thanks for joining us. We're truly delighted to have spent this time with you. And so we're going to close out by singing I Release.